Welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show, where you'll learn how to grow your team today. Join Ken Trupke and his guests as they discuss what works and doesn't work to grow your team in today's world. And now, your host, Ken Trupke.
Hello, and welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show. Having your team work remotely versus in person has been a challenge for business leaders since 2020. My guest today, Nelson Wilner, is Vice President of Kawasaki Engines USA. Nelson was one of the earliest guests on the show, and back then we talked about his journey to moving his team back to in-person from fully remote. So I'm excited to welcome him back today to talk about the process since then and what he's learned. So welcome back to the show, Nelson Wilner. Nelson, great to have you here.
Great. Thanks, Ken. Great to be back on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So remind us what problem Kawasaki Engines solves and who your customers are.
Our customers are in the landscaping industry primarily. So outdoor power equipment, we call it. We provide high quality, high powered engines for zero turn lawnmowers and golf carts and other industrial applications. And we provide power, reliable power to our customers.
Okay, great. And I really want to get into remote work versus in person. But before that, just again, remind us how you got to where you are, what a little bit of your earlier career up into the point that you've been at Kawasaki.
Sure. It was a long path, so I won't bore you with the entire path, but I started my career way back in the day with Motorola, portable products and walkie-talkies and things like that, that division of Motorola. Started in marketing and worked my way up through sales leadership and to the VP of sales and marketing in the marine industry for many years, and then worked my way up into a leadership position with Kawasaki. Again, generally a sales leader, but also a divisional leader as well.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so tell me about your current team. What's how big is the team and what types of positions do you have?
Here in our division in Grand Rapids, we have pretty much everything except manufacturing. Our manufacturing is done by a wonderful group of people out in Missouri. But here in Grand Rapids, we have every other discipline of the business. We have engineers, we have accountants and logistics and inside and outside sales, both on our OEM side and our dealer channel side. Around 150 employees in total.
Okay. Yeah, that's a relatively big team. So
yeah.
All right. So, last time you were on the show, it was a couple years ago, and you were in the midst of bringing your team back to the office as best you could. So tell us about what's happened since then and kind of that journey of going from everybody remote back in 2020 to where you are now.
Sure. I like the term journey, and it really was a journey. And I used the term navigate. I always pictured a ship moving through uncharted waters with lots of rocks and heavy waves and so forth. So it was a bit of a navigation. But 2 years later, since the last time we talked, we're finally at a point where I think we've reached some stability and happiness. But it was a long path, as you say. It took us a while to get there. 2 years ago, the world was very different, and the working world was very different, and expectations were a lot different. And it was really very difficult to get our employees to give up on the work from home, because we went home just like everybody else did, stayed there for, a long time, a year and a half. And then the key to getting everybody back was really a slow transition. It was life-changing. The whole COVID thing and work from home, just the business side of it was traumatic for many people. And it was life-changing, and people really had built a lifestyle around working from home. And so we knew all along we wanted to come back, and we needed to come back. That was the best thing for our company. So we did it slowly. We did it one day at a time for several months, and then we expanded to 2 days in the office, 3 days. And then finally we settled a couple of years ago at 4 days in the office. So Monday through Thursday in the office, and Friday is an optional work from home day. And then we kind of built on that. Also, so it's an optional work from home day. We have one floating day where you can work from home per month, if you like. And then if you are sick or you have a child or family member that's sick and you need to stay home and you could still take care of your work, then you can stay home as well
Sure.
and work from home.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now, part of the reason you're on this journey, this navigation, you're navigating getting from 0 days in the office to now 4 days in the office, was that you have a strong feeling around the benefits of being together in the office. Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We are, I mean, every organization is different. What I do here or what we do here, I can't say would work for every company, and it probably wouldn't. But for us here at Kawasaki, we're a highly collaborative group. We work close together. We talk to each other every day amongst all the different departments. We share ideas. We create product ideas. We are very close with our customer, and we share that idea. We share those customer thoughts all the way through the organization pretty much every day. We did it, and we were coping with that sort of intervention that happened during work from home. But we always knew that the best thing to do was to be back together. And that really, really has benefited our business.
And what are some of the lessons that you learned as you navigated from 0 to 4 days? Because it was a multi-year process. And so what worked and what didn't, and what did you learn about people in your organization and how to move there?
Well, we learned to be flexible, and you couldn't, there were many times, and that sounded very easy to say, we transitioned from 1 to 4, but there was a lot of fits and starts that we had because during those times, we didn't know if it was safe. We didn't know if it was the right thing to do at times, and we were still navigating around the virus itself. But really, the best thing that we learned was we had to go with our gut instinct. We knew all along that the best thing to do was to be together. And so many forces in our business world were saying, work from home is the way to go. Nobody's ever going to work in the office again. We're never going to shake hands again. We're never going to hug. All those nevers and alwayses were going on. And so while this avalanche of all that was coming our way, myself and other leaders here, we knew that the best thing for our company, because of the way we work, was to be together. And I'd like to say we were right. We were ahead of the curve, and we were right. And our team has really done very, very well by being back together again.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, I'm curious. You have 150 people. Somewhere in there, somebody's not going to be happy with the transition. Obviously, a lot of people were happy and have come along on that journey. But how did you handle when people didn't want to make the transition, and maybe tell us a little bit of, maybe give us some numbers of how many people didn't of the 150 because you've had about the same number of people this whole time. So what about that in terms of like getting people to actually do this?
We really didn't have any fallout per se from just the work from, you have to come back to the office. We really had no fallout. We had other folks whose life had changed and they wanted to move away or things like that after the pandemic. But again, no real fallout just from work from home. And again, the key was transition. We humans don't like change. And it was hard to get us to go back to at home. We transitioned to that. We did very well at that as an organization. And then to have change again, a massive change like to come back, that's hard also. So as management, we said we have to be patient. And even though we want to get everybody back here yesterday, that's not the way to do it. And so we just really tried to take our time with everyone. And, it was a bell curve. Some adapted right away. Some it took a very long time, only recently. And then everybody else was in the middle. I'm sure given the chance, other folks would like to go back to home right now. But I think they also realize that this is the best place for our company to be. We all rally around the fact we love working together. We like our business. We like our customers. And so all that has been very important to bring us together and keep us together.
Yeah. And on the cultural side, I know you're very intentional about building a business culture and keeping that strong. And being a Japanese owned company, obviously the Japanese have a very strong culture that they're very protective of and very intentional about. So talk about how in-person supports your vision for a culture, a strong culture, and what you're trying to create there in terms of how people work together.
Right. one thing to really distill it down to something very simple is we try to make a small company out of a big company. So we work for a big company. We try to bring it down to our division to make sure that everybody enjoys working with each other. We have compatible people. All the leaders know everybody. We try to be involved with each other's lives in some appropriate way. And we work real hard to, again, try to make that small company feeling. We have frequent celebrations, sake toast, that's the Japanese part of us. For different anniversaries or celebrations, we'll have a toast, and lots of different get-togethers and family gatherings. And so we really work hard, again, to try to make this an attractive place to work and an enjoyable place. So that has helped keep us together and keep us more personal with each other.
Yeah, it's just harder to do that when you're not literally together, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the only way to do it is just together. I mean, look at what we did with our families and friends after COVID. You know, we didn't want to be teams or Zooming our family, and where we want to be with them. We wanted kids to be back in school for a reason. We wanted to be with our family. Same thing for work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to touch on how this all plays into attracting and retaining talent, which is such a huge issue right now for so many businesses. And we'll do that on the other side of the break. So stay with us. We're talking with Nelson Wilner of Kawasaki Engines on the Clarity Advisor Show.
Is your business where you want it to be or on track to get there? Clarity Advisors helps business leaders improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success. We specialize in helping you streamline your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Call or text Ken at 616-822-2998 to have a complimentary 12-minute call to see what some clarity could do for you.
Okay, welcome back to the Clarity Advisor Show. Today we're talking with Nelson Wilner of Kawasaki Engines. So Nelson, attracting and retaining talent is such a huge topic with businesses now. It seems like everybody's struggling to get the right people on their team. So what are you doing at Kawasaki to attract talent right now?
You know, attracting talent, that's a big problem. I mean, big issue for everybody. You know, for us, it comes from, you know, all the things we've talked about already and being sincere about the fact that we, again, try to make a small company out of a big company. We have a culture where we care for each other and we like working together. And really, Ken, so many people come in for interviews and they say that after working with a few of the folks in here, they get this feeling from us that they really want to belong. There's some X factor we've got here of really good people who are really sincere, who are really passionate about what they do, and it's contagious. So attracting people, of course, you know, we have to do all the blocking and tackling, the basics of you got to have to be competitive compensation-wise. It has to be a good place to work and so forth. But we really can attract good people here, and retaining them really is the same way. We have to make good on that promise that when they get here, it is as promised, and that we're not different in the interviews as we are in real life.
Sure. Yeah. But walking the talk turns out is pretty important. You can't just talk the talk.
Yeah, for sure. But getting people here, you know, again, really, I think we here have moved past the work from home issue. We don't really attract, I guess if somebody really wants to just work remotely, we won't be attractive to them. But we do make it clear that this is an in-office job, at least 4 days a week.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to try to connect is the earlier conversation around the navigating to get people from 100% home to 80% in person. How has that affected your ability to recruit and retain? And is it so? What are people more attracted to that, or you're filtering out on that, or how has that worked for you?
I think the answer is we're only attractive to people who want to work in the office, and then when they come here and they find out that this is such a really nice place to work, and we do have the flexibility. On top of that, it's sort of a, well, you know, you can't have it all sort of a thing. I'd like to, if somebody wanted to work from home and they got here and they learned this, maybe we'll change their minds. But really, I think we're only attracting people who understand that it's a team and it's a teamwork type of a company we have here. And they like that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, it's not for everybody. And like I like to coach leaders I work with on the idea when we're talking about recruiting that listen, because somebody isn't a good fit for your company doesn't make them a bad person. It just makes them a bad fit. And so,
Yeah, that's the perfect thing. We use that very often, right? We say, oh, if somebody's a good fit or not a fit. It really has to be a fit. It doesn't make us bad or them bad if we're not compatible. It's just not the fit.
right. And you're looking for the people who are looking for you, and vice versa. You're trying to be attractive to a certain person. And so when the fit's there, then it works. And if it's not, it's just not there. Doesn't make you a bad employer or them a bad candidate, but it doesn't make sense to bring people in that aren't good. Like, specifically, obviously we're talking about the work from home versus in person. Somebody needs, for whatever reason, to work remotely. Well, then that's just not a good fit. They might be a great candidate for somebody else, and they might fit all the qualifications, but that's kind of a knockout because it's not going to work in your culture.
Sure. We, as the company interview, we have to be honest. We have to be transparent. We have to set expectations of what we want. And if it's a match, if it's a fit, then that's great. If it's not, it's okay. We both go separate ways. But generally speaking, the work from home we do have a hybrid. It's the 4-to-1 hybrid, but it's still a hybrid model. And it's really attractive to a lot of folks.
Right. Well, I know you, and hearing about how you've been doing this the last couple of years, that for the right people, it's a great fit because people that value that in-person connection, you have that in spades still. And so,
absolutely.
So that's, you can see in real life when you're working there that this is working really well. This is a really effective way to work together. And so get people in the door and living that, and it just compounds.
Right. And again, it depends on the business. What I'm saying is not a one size fits all. It just works for us. And we work better when we're together side by side. And again, we have added, answering the earlier question about what we've learned, flexibility is really important. We've offered our employees a pretty fair amount of flexibility. And, the company can't get everything it wants. The employees can't get everything. So you meet somewhere. And I believe that we're at a good place right now that we've met that is comfortable for both the employee and the employer.
Sure. So back to that navigation of the process, I know some companies that tried to entice people back with free lunch and other perks. Were you doing any of that when you were going from 0 days to 1 day to 2 day a week?
Oh, I guess the short answer is no, we weren't. We try to make this a consistently real and sustainable type of a model in terms of our happiness and what we do here. So when I mentioned about the toasts and the gatherings and the get-togethers and baseball games and things we do together, we do that all the time anyway. And we really didn't turn on anything extra during or the post-COVID days because it just didn't feel natural.
Right. And you had said that there were some steps forward and then some steps back. Tell me about specifically, did you went from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 sequentially like that? Or did you try to get to 3 and then have to go back to 2? Or what was some specifics around how you did that? Because there's some people still out there that are trying to get more days in office and are struggling. So I was curious about what worked for you or what didn't work for you.
Our setbacks, Ken, were not really from a business standpoint. If you remember at the time, we were watching numbers, infection numbers and different numbers that were happening with COVID. And oftentimes I would say, okay, we're going to go, let's say, for example, from 1 day to 2 days, and we're going to do that on June 1st. Well, we get to June 1st and there was a spike in cases, and we said, okay, it's not going to be June 1st. And so I'd have to pull that back. But we never really, once we went from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, we never went backwards from there.
Okay, so the steps back per se were more the timeline that you thought you could do something by a time and turned out you couldn't, so you extended the time. Okay.
Right. And remember, it was a pandemic. We the first thing was to keep people healthy. We never wanted to put our employees at risk or have a situation. We brought them back and then something spread in the office. So that was always our guiding factor in that regard. But we just wanted people to feel comfortable with the transition.
Right. Yeah. Well, and since the last time we talked, I think at the time you were at only 3 days at the time, and maybe even 2, and have since moved to 4. So that's why I was curious, because since 2022, there really hasn't been a lot of the infection rates and things haven't really been the factors. It's really been more overcoming the resistance of people who have settled into it. We asked them to change to one thing and now they're there and they finally settled in. Like, okay, I would ask you to change again. It was, working with that kind of inertia was more the concern and the issues, less about the specifics of the infections and things. So that's why I was curious what you did once we were past all the external numbers to just move with the internal team you had from, say, 3 to 4.
We moved patiently. We kept saying the mission and the vision was to come back and be together. That's another thing. Going back to the very beginning of work from home, we made it clear to our employees we were always coming back. And I think that helped a lot. Some companies said, oh, we're not sure, or we're always going to work from home and so on. We always said we were going to come back. It was a matter of time. So that helped a lot set the expectation. But once we got started, we were continuing the path to work, to come back to the office. But, it wasn't easy. And a lot of folks really, we've been restless. If you remember, there was the comeback time and then there was the restlessness time where people didn't want to be here. And then they kind of settled down over time. And we're at a time right now where I finally feel like we've reached a point of peace and serenity where, it is what it is and we are where we are. And, it feels much better now than it did 2 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and now we can stop talking about it, hopefully, and get back to work, right? And start serving our customers and get back to focusing on our customers instead of these other distracting issues. But yeah, it was definitely, that's no one's fault. That was just the process and the events and the thing we had to go through.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier that some companies are still trying to get people back. If you're trying to get people back from total work from home to working in the office, I'm sorry to say it might be too late for that. It's been 4+ years now. People have built a lifestyle around that. They build their finances around it. Everything that might be undoable at this point. Yeah, to be quite honest,
it's definitely more challenging from the companies that I know of that are trying to move in that direction. And the further they are on the end of the spectrum of work from home, the harder it is to get going. You've just got, like you said, all those reasons that people have just settled into that. And now you're really trying to disrupt something that's years now in the making, not just a shorter period.
Sure.
So,
so to go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, it just takes patience and some stick-to-itiveness to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, I really like what you said about that you had said early on, like, we will get there. This is the plan. We're going in this direction. And just having set that expectation, I can see where that would make a big difference in helping people to recognize that this is what we're going to do. It might take longer than we thought. It might look different than we thought, but we are going this way. And so it gives people a chance to adjust to that and get on board with that. So I can see where that'd be really helpful as well. So, well, Nelson, this is great. This is the conversation I was hoping we could have. I love to hear your perspective on these things. That's always one of my favorite things when you and I talk is I'm always probably annoyingly interested in, like, where are you at? How many days?
No. I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just interesting because you've been such a case study for that determined move back and just the steady march. And yeah, there's been some setbacks and some adjustments and the plan didn't go like you thought, but that's all plans, right? The plan is usually wrong, but the planning is what's important. So yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. No, we were very firm, but very gentle with our employees too. And I think that's very important. Even at this point, if some company is trying to bring people back, you have to be firm with what you want to do and your resolve, but you have to be also very gentle and understand that this is a very sensitive situation.
Right. Well, and literally talking about people's lives and their home life and how they, work, where they work and how they work. And yeah, a lot of sensitive personal topics on the line there.
Sure.
So, well, again, I appreciate your time, Nelson. So who should reach out to you and what would be the best way to do that?
I think the best way just in general is that look me up on LinkedIn and that it has my cell phone on there, has my email contact. And so if you have any further questions or something you want to talk about, please, I welcome a call or an email.
Okay, excellent. Well, good. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and the time you've given us today. And with that, it brings us to the end of another Clarity Advisor show. If you could be so kind as to leave a review on the platform you're watching or listening, that would be great. Also, please feel free to share this with other people you think might benefit and leave a comment. And with that, we'll see you next time on the Clarity Advisor Show.
Thank you for listening to the Clarity Advisor Show. Clarity Advisors is a speaking, training, and consulting firm specializing in helping you simplify your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Connect with Clarity Advisors today to learn more about how they can help you improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success.